Welcome back to Breakfast Live with yours truly, Gertrude Mkandawile, where we're giving you nothing but the best of insights on the health front. Now, right now we'll be talking to Cecellia Saidi. She is a psychotherapist from the Vintage Wellbeing Health Center. I'm hoping that's right.
Vintage Health Wellness Center.
Vintage Health Wellness Center. Yeah. Welcome on set, Cecellia.
Thank you, Gertrude.
Now, we're talking about post-traumatic stress disorder. Can you just give us insight on what this is?
So this is a mental health condition, Gertrude. It's triggered by when somebody experiences, firstly, a traumatic event, a terrifying event, or not just experiencing. Sometimes it can be just that you witness a traumatic event. So what happens is within a period of a month, you may have symptoms that develop, but it might go as well as over a year before you have symptoms. Sure.
So what are some of the symptoms that you look for when you're talking about post-traumatic stress disorder?
So for PTSD, the symptoms are categorized in four groups. So you have intrusive memories, where a person would have flashback of the event that they witnessed. For example, if it was a burglary, if it was an accident, if it was an attack by a vicious dog. So they would have those flashback of those moments that come back in real time. Again, somebody can have nightmares. So they're sleeping and they woke up and they're screaming because they have experienced something in their sleep, a nightmare. Again, another category would be avoidance. So if you were attacked by a vicious dog, every time that you're passing on a fence where dogs are barking, you'd feel, well, I think this is the second attack.
So you tend to avoid it.
So you feel, okay, if this path there are a lot of dogs, offenses with dogs, you'd seem to avoid that path because the memories are coming back. The third category would be that of negative emotions or mood. So a person generally, for example, maybe you were carjacked. Every time you get into the car, you just feel like immediately you have to lock. And if it happened in the night, you might want to change your behavior to say you won't go out after 5 in a car. And this comes to, again, physical reactions, physical and emotional reactions. So if at times somebody, maybe you're sitting in a group and somebody just clears the throat to say, you'd find somebody getting shocked and people would wonder what's happening. It might go back to the time maybe they got a burglary. There was something, I should say maybe something that fell or somebody smashed something and there was a large sound. So somebody would identify that with danger and that would come back and then they would physically react by getting shocked or moving. So those are the 4 categories that one would present with when they have PTSD.
Okay, so should we say that trauma is the major contributor to PTSD?
Yes, as in the name. So it's a terrifying event that happened. Like I said, it can be any other condition. But so long as it caused trauma in your life, if it's not managed thereafter, you experience it, it might come back. Like I said, within a period of a month or after years, the symptoms may appear.
Now, so talking about maybe some of the effects of PTSD, what are the day-to-day effects on somebody's life? Say now you've got PTSD, but then you're not aware of this condition or you're not sure what it is. How does one be affected on a regular basis?
So that's a very good question, Gertrude. So this PTSD can affect somebody's life entirely. It might change their whole personality. And I'm always stressing to say in kids, if you have a kid or somebody in your care that has experienced that has experienced a traumatic event, it's good that they process it with a therapist. Because moving on, like I said, it might be not wanting to go out of the house after 5, not wanting to get close to dogs, or just not being free to get in a public place. So one can develop agoraphobia. So these are the things that would define somebody's personality and their behavior in the negative way, and it might limit them to be very productive in life.
So Cecellia, we're talking about trauma, as you mentioned that's the major contributor.
Yes.
But now how do you differentiate trauma from maybe something you're just trying to avoid, not because you've got something attached to it, but then you're just not a fan of it? Say now for the dog issue. Say now you've never been bitten by a dog. You've never seen anybody being bitten by a dog, but then just the thought of it. How do you avoid it?
So that's a phobia. So everybody can have phobias and we all have one. You can have aquaphobia, where you're afraid of water, but you haven't drowned or ever attempted drowning.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a difference. But a traumatic event means something that you never had control over.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Okay.
the difference between the two.
All right, so maybe some treatment that is available for it?
Yes, so therapy helps.
Mhm.
There's a therapy technique that's called graded exposure. Otherwise, it's called systematic desensitization,
Mhm.
where you introduce what the person fears most in a graded way. So a therapist would be able to take a person through that to process their emotions
Mhm.
and be able to face their fears
So you have to face your fears in order for you to...
in a graded way. So it's
Alright.
it's a technique, it's a therapy.
All right.
Exactly.
All right, thank you so much, Cecellia Saidi. Because of time, I think that's where we ended off today.
Thank you, Gertrude.
So I was joined by Cecellia Saidi talking about post-traumatic stress disorder, where we figured out and found out more about it and how it influences somebody on a day-to-day basis. So you could have some of the symptoms, or you could be feeling that this is something that could be happening to me if you're not sure about the symptoms. So maybe go to a therapist, as Cecellia Saidi said, and get it checked as something that could influence you on a daily basis. So up next, we've got Ian Kosonda coming in with more guests on the chat room.